Everybody, welcome back to another edition of PD and P-Dubs Unscripted. We're joined back with P-Dubs this week again.
Great to be with you, PD, and everybody else. Missed you last week, but I heard it was a good convo.
Yeah, we got ready for our night of worship coming up probably in March, but today we're going to kind of highlight our gospel reading for this upcoming weekend from Matthew chapter 4, I believe that was.
Yeah.
Verses 12 through 25. We're just going to do a little deeper dive in that this week.
P-Dubs Unscripted.
So yeah, I wonder what our listeners that watch on YouTube think of the little new how we do the video where they see us kind of interacting or just dancing around to the theme song here.
I was really getting into the theme song. You know, it's been, I always hear it, but this time I was feeling it, man.
Yeah, maybe it's,
Getting the groove.
Getting in the groove, getting it warm as it's a cold day out there.
Yes, it is cold.
Tom Skilling, I don't know how much he likes these cold days.
Well, Pastor Donald, it's we had a big cold trough coming from the Arctic region. After out west, there was a warm dome that really rushed up from the southwest and creates this Arctic trough.
I'm not a fan of this Arctic trough. And for all those just listening to the audio, that was not really Tom Skilling with us. I bet you thought Tom Skilling came all the way to Emmanuel.
He's in the booth.
He's in the booth with us. I don't know if we got the funds to get him as a guest.
To get him? I don't know. You never know. He's a pretty likable, nice guy and generous with his time.
Yeah.
We should try and get him on here.
Get him on here? That would be
I would be in my glory. And I would almost be nervous trying to talk like him next to him.
Oh, I wouldn't try it if I was you.
But I'd want to see how accurate I am, like just dueling skillings.
See if people could we could make it a game of it, have people blindfolded. And is it the real Tom Skilling or is it
just me? Yeah, that would be, oh man, I'd be over the moon excited.
Man, that gets you wondering who would be dream guests to have on the podcast.
I don't know, but Tom, if you're listening, please contact us at, our number.
Yeah, well, we don't have, and I'm not going to give myself a number out.
I was like going to go 555, whatever.
Well, what was the one for Jenny, the song back in the 80s?
Oh, 8675309.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that theme song, I mean, last week Joe was talking about, wondering, do we need a new one? I was like, I don't know, and
still seems pretty fresh to me. It still hits fresh. I don't know, but
yeah, and like I said, we don't get much comments on the YouTube Well, I sounded kind of old. The YouTube,
that's like me, and the Facebook,
the Snapchat, the TikTok. But yeah, on YouTube, we don't get every once in a while we get a comment, but we got nothing about the songs or even through Spotify because I think you can somehow do there because I don't usually typically use Spotify for much except for uploading the podcasts.
Well, we might get surprised someday, and Mr. Skilling could walk right into our studios.
That would be pretty impressive.
Yeah, that would be a memorable day in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not liking what he's going to be telling us we're supposed to get on Friday. I just found out.
Yeah, colder than today.
A high of -5.
And yesterday.
High of -5.
A high of -5.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Because I know some students and stuff, they were talking, I guess, about, are we going to have school?
We got a lot of weather watchers for Friday. Yeah. I know you are. You're wanting to get out. Well, of course, it's your day off.
Yeah,
so
I'm like, it makes no difference to me.
You?
I was like, what do I care? I won't be here anyway. But no, let's see. Yeah, at least on Apple right now, it says high of 4 degrees and a low of -13. And Saturday will be the same. Actually, a low of -14.
And that's without wind chill.
Yes.
Yikes.
Yeah, it might be a slim crowd on Saturday night.
Could be. I saw an old Chicago Tribune of, I can't remember what the actual date was and the year, honestly, but I want to say it was like early 1990s. The temperature in Chicago was -62 degrees.
That's a blistery day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's shorts and a t-shirt weather, if
Of
I've ever
course,
heard it.
negative 62. Oh. Wow. And like there was steam rising off of Lake Michigan because of the water and the air hitting each other.
That's crazy.
I thankfully don't remember exactly what that was like, but that's pretty raw cold.
Yeah, because I would think the coldest I can think of was probably, was it 2019, 2018 when we had that polar vortex?
The vortex, yes.
And I remember we did shut down a couple days for that because it was unsafe to be out.
And didn't we have, that year, didn't we have a pipe burst in the boiler room?
Could have been.
I remember getting called, and I came one night and the water was just gushing down into the boiler room. I think it might have been around then. Yeah, it was nasty.
That polar vortex, never again.
No more vortexes. No, sir.
No more cold.
No colds. Yeah, but let's warm up with the gospel.
Oh, there we go.
Ding, 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 ding.
That was such a smooth transition.
I'm all about that.
So I'm trying to think. We used to do some deeper dives more regularly when we were doing the 3 a week. So do we want to read the whole gospel reading?
We can certainly do that. Which is, we're only backing up a couple of verses to verse 12, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can read maybe the first half, 12 through 17.
Okay.
If you want to do the last half,
Sure.
I'll embarrass myself trying to read all these names here.
There you go.
So, yeah, Matthew chapter 4 began with verse 12. Now when he heard that John had been arrested, he withdrew into Galilee, and leaving Nazareth, he went and lived in Capernaum, by the sea, in the territory of Zebulun and Naphtali, so that was spoken by the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. The land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, the way of the sea, beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people dwelling in darkness have seen a great light, and for those dwelling in the region and the shadow of death, on them light has dawned. From that time, Jesus began to preach, saying, Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
And while walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw 2 brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. Immediately they left their nets and followed him. And going on from there, he saw 2 other brothers, James, the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, in the boat with Zebedee their father, mending their nets, and he called them. Immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. And he went throughout all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every disease and every affliction among the people. So his fame spread throughout all Syria, and they brought him all the sick, those afflicted with various diseases and pains, those oppressed by demons, epileptics, and paralytics, and he healed them. And great crowds followed him from Galilee and the Decapolis, and from Jerusalem and Judea, and from beyond the Jordan. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Amen.
So, yeah, there's kind of a lot you could technically unpack there with going to the Isaiah.
Oh, yeah.
And but this week, since I'm preaching, I think I'm going to lead on that, like, what Jesus says in verse 19, and said to them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And for Christians, that's a pretty familiar verse. We hear that a lot in churches. But it is not an easy thing, what Jesus is saying there.
Yeah. And there's really no details other than, hey, come on, let's go. Join me. It's an invitation. It's great because Jesus is inviting them into a life that is beyond their comprehension. And it looks like Matthew borrowed a word that the gospel writer Mark really enjoys, that word immediately.
Yeah. Isn't it like ethnos or?
Uthos.
Uthos.
Yeah. So, if you read Mark, you'll find yourself reading the word immediately a lot because, I don't know, Mark is like the gospel of action. We see Jesus on the move.
He's
bang,
always
bang,
going,
bang, bang.
going. Yeah, there's no resting in that gospel.
No, sir. But here Matthew, turns a page or takes a page from Mark. Immediately they left their nets and followed him. And it's just kind of interesting. Like, it's a hard job being a fisherman back in those times. Not very rewarding at times, as we saw later on in the gospel, where they'd be fishing all night long and not getting anything. It makes me not feel so bad when I go on vacation and put one little line in the water and I come out with nothing after hours and hours and hours. I think, well, I'm no worse than the disciples who did this for a living,
Right, and I'm just trying to look up something here, see if, I don't know if this is actually going to work. But this is, I know, something you and I have fun with here. I want to pull up the Blue Letter Bible here.
Oh, good. I was just thinking about going there myself.
I don't want the King James translation here. We want
sir.
ESV, the these and the thous. It gets a little confusing sometimes in that King James version.
Well, and you get your tongue tied on those things. Saith and doeth and doeth.
So I don't know if this is actually going to work what I want here. Let's see here. I'm trying to get the follow me because I wanted to look at the follow me, like what tense that was in. But
That's funny. I was going to look up that follow me to see what the word was.
Let's see if this is going to work.
Strong's G 1205.
Dute.
And I was trying to see because I don't know why it didn't work, but I was hoping because I know there's a way I can input my computer into the soundboard. So I was hoping our listeners could have a fun with the Strong's G because we've referenced that before.
Yeah, maybe when I retire, if I ever retire from the ministry, I'd like to be that guy who just says that Blue Letter. If there's ever a revision, I'd like to be that guy. Strong's G 3557. Dute.
Yeah, and I'm surprised because I would have because it's an adverb.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it would have been like an imperative,
yes, yeah, like a command.
A command to follow me.
Huh?
I am stunned by this here.
I could not connect on my phone to join you on that discovery of that word.
Yeah, so because I was looking, even when I was on Logos before doing going to Blue Letter Bible, it says it's an adverb, and duty. Do you know what it means? It's also come.
Okay.
So come here.
Come follow me.
I'm a little shocked here.
Yeah.
That it's an adverb.
Still in the invitation mode,
right.
But it does when you say come or follow me in those regards, does sound like an imperative, a direct command.
Right, because I'm always thinking the Great Commission when it's not a suggestion, he is commanding. It's in an imperative form when he says, go and make disciples of all nations.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was expecting to see here.
Well, that's why you got to dig into the word, man.
Yeah, well, it's that invitation, but as an invitation, there's two things kind of going through my mind. It's knowing, looking back, knowing it's Jesus, being well, yeah, why would you decline that invitation?
Yep.
But also, the disciples, they didn't really know as much. We have this information.
Mm-hmm.
And so does that mean, in how they just got up and followed him? If, some random person came up to me and said, follow me, I think I'd have some questions.
Yeah, exactly. Give me some details, Jesus. Follow you where?
What are we?
Are we going into town?
It feels like later in the scriptures, they have more questions when, Jesus, I will prepare a room for you in my Father's home. And Thomas, well, where are you going? We don't know where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
So they're questioning Jesus, where are we going?
Where are we going?
And here they're just okay, let's leave behind the life I know and I'm going to follow you.
I guess that really shows the power and I don't know the right word to say, but the power of his word to kind of get you to go nodding and
motivate.
Say,
I don't know if not motivate. It's
not motivation, but it is causing them to just agree and go. So there's this immediate trust. Well, okay, I'm going.
Right.
But
and I think, I don't know, maybe because I'm more of a deliberate person, but it just seems like such a foreign concept of follow me. Okay, no problem. I'm going to do it. I'd be let me think about this, count kind of the costs of it.
Right. Well, and especially when you get down to John and James, like they're in this family business with their dad, right? And so, I mean, I could see, there's you see a lot of companies where it's a family business and the sons are taking on the business, and it's never an easy thing having your own business. And I could imagine there are times where sons like reluctantly, did the work of their father's business. But this shows them that they have the ability to have a steady income, because like he must be doing well to have his own business. So they say, okay, let's go. Not one says, okay, let's go, and the other says, what are you doing? They both go as brothers, just as, Andrew and Peter. And then Zebedee doesn't even offer a protest.
Right, like that's
what are you guys doing? You're leaving me to mend the nets. What's going on?
Like that's what I was like when we were just looking through this. I was like, what was going through Zebedee's mind?
Yeah.
And I just and left the boat and their father.
Yeah. And there it is immediately.
So is he just chilling in the boat and being like, like the Will Smith meme from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where he's looking around like, I'm all alone. And he's probably, he could be saying, these sons of mine, right.
I knew they didn't want to
take over the business.
Do the hard work that is required.
But yeah, I just wonder because we don't really ever get what was Zebedee's thoughts here.
Yeah.
And that's just, like I said, maybe when we get to heaven, we can ask Zebedee, what were you thinking when your two sons just said, I'm out?
Yeah.
And you're left there standing in the boat.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if somehow
he knew
he must have known of Jesus, before this encounter. Because we know that Andrew, in our last week's reading, when we were in the Gospel of John, I believe, it says that John the Baptizer had two disciples, and they went and followed Jesus. One of them was Andrew. So this was 2 days after Jesus' baptism. So Andrew and this other disciple go and follow Jesus, and the first thing Andrew does is go gets his brother Simon Peter, brings him back.
Right.
So, now they're walking by the Sea of Galilee. So time has gone by, it would seem. Right, the previous account was at the River Jordan with John the Baptist. Now they're by the Sea of Galilee. So maybe they kind of went back to their fishing business after they first met Jesus. I'm just postulating.
Right, no.
And now they kind of have already met him. And remember in John's gospel, it said they stayed with him. They wanted to stay with him, Andrew and the other disciple. So it makes me wonder, if they've seen a little bit and heard a little bit of Jesus to be like, wow, this guy's really captivating. Yeah, I want to hang around with this guy, which is why they said, can we abide with you? Can we stay with you in John?
And that's what I was just trying to think as you were talking. I was just like, Jesus really didn't perform any miracles up until this point.
Yeah, not that we're shown here.
Yeah, so because the next reading in John would have been the wedding at Cana, which is what we say is his first miracle.
Yeah.
So yes, you have the baptism of Jesus. So was that what was spreading around, or was he doing a little bit of stuff before what our Gospels pick up in his life? Because we kind of have his birth narrative. We have when he's 12 years old in the temple, and we kind of skip ahead to what many believe when he was 30 years old. So we have a 28-year gap.
Yeah.
Well, what was he doing? Was he just being a carpenter with Joseph? Mm-hmm. Was he really doing any miracles? We don't have any record of any of those things. So that's what I was just trying to figure out as mapping this in my head and timeline of stuff there's no miracles, no healing as far as we know, just the baptism. Mm-hmm. And how quickly did news spread at that point? Because it's not like here in 2026 where you have good news, bam, you can text or call somebody, post it on social media. Somebody halfway around the world can hear it instantly.
Yeah, true. And I guess we have to keep in mind, these are pretty small communities. So word probably did get around, not to the degree that they do now, but, when somebody saw something, and it makes me think as you were saying, we only get Jesus up to a certain point from when he's in the temple at 12 and now when he's calling his disciples. What relationships were already kind of formed, amongst families in Nazareth and Galilee that may have caused these disciples to say, okay, I'm on, we don't know that. That's the scripture is silent to any conversations like that. Right. Don't know.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, you think of all the hoopla that went around his birth, where there's a lot of excitement and proclaiming who he was.
Yep.
Then we have this in between state where we don't hear much of what's going on. So I'm is this when you hear about in your community, it's about a young star athlete at such and such a school, oh, did you hear about Johnny over at Fremd?
Yeah.
He's going to be the next big star.
Right.
And it just kind of goes through the community, and that's how people find out, is that what they're saying about Jesus? That Jesus is supposed to be the Messiah. And is it something well, what has he really done to prove that?
Yeah.
The athlete, oh, well, did you see what they did against, Conant High School or whatever local high school?
Yep.
You build that legend, and what was Jesus doing? I just don't know.
Well, and I think what kind of supports these thoughts is back to last week's gospel, where John himself said, he was before me, and he ranks before me. I did not know him, but I have borne testimony about him. And so you sit there and you go, wait a minute, John. You guys were related. You were basically cousins. How did you not know Jesus?
You leapt in the womb.
Yeah, right? And so what I think John was saying was, I knew who he was. He's my cousin. But I really didn't intimately, deeply know this whole Messiah thing.
Right.
Maybe to a degree that I know now, that I'm committing my life to prepare people to receive him. And so maybe the same kind of thing is at play here. They knew of Jesus. That's the whole, I knew of this person, but I really didn't know them. But now I've met them and talked with them, and I've interacted and spent time. Now I know who they are. Right.
But yeah, it's all those questions that we have because the Bible doesn't give them to us, but they're not salvation issues.
No.
But human mind likes to wander. And
that's why I was trying to think that's why I brought up the John text, because it kind of supports a little bit of our musings.
Right. And even that, that he came before me, to me, I'm thinking of that whole, because I talked about with 50s plus, because John's gospel begins differently than any of the other gospels.
Yes.
And it's pretty much just like Genesis, because it starts the same way, in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see that connection. So him talking about him being the Word. So see, he's before me, which you got to wonder, what were the people thinking? They probably weren't picking up those things.
Oh, no. They're so, abstract kind of language.
Yeah, his gospel is not very concrete. It's an abstract, and that's why it's not part of what we call the synoptic gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Kind of marches to the beat of his own drum here a little bit, John.
Yeah. And you think of I kind of was getting at the life of a fisherman can be very hard. Right. And you can have times where you're not taking in a big shoal of fish. There, I'll use a little biblical fishing term, or a big catch.
Right.
And but then there's probably days where we see in the Gospels that Jesus makes happen where the nets are bursting
and they can barely carry them out, get them out, and that's gotta be hard. Just think about lifting something out of water.
Yeah,
that's not easy.
Completely loaded with fish that are moving and squirming all about. So it's the life of a fisherman can be one of a lot of hard work, a lot of toil for not much reward. And you're always hoping, as every fisherman is, for the big catch, the big haul, right? And when you get it, life is good. And so that's the life of a fisherman probably in these days, providing food for people, fresh fish every day. And so it's you could have two attitudes. I can't wait to get out of this business. It's too hard. I'm just going to follow this guy and see what he's got to say. Or, I don't know, man. I'm kind of comfortable with the lifestyle that I have here.
If I get that one big haul,
that
can set me up.
Jesus, it sounds kind of tempting, but if we've been working hard, I think we're going to get the big one.
Right.
I don't know.
But even this, like, fishers of men, because, he equates, so it's a good analogy, like, hey, you're fishers, you're going to be a fisher of men.
Yeah.
And you wonder what's going through their mind then, like, they're getting, but as you were talking, describing how hard it can be, like, carrying out the nets and having those fish squirming around, and that, you can cast a lot of nets and not get a return, isn't that the same way with fishing for men? In this case, making disciples, where it sounds like it could be easy, but we know it's not dealing with people because there's maybe preconceived notions about Christianity or hurts from Christianity or just unknown. So somebody isn't always easy to reel in the sense, I don't like using the term reel in, but like that trying to make disciples where they can be squirming around and that net is, they're trying to wiggle out of that net.
Well, I think you're hitting it right there. The life of ministry, of trying to share the gospel and have someone grab hold of it in faith, so that, and I know what you mean about the caught them, or it's not a sales pitch, it's not a duplicitous thing where you're tricking someone. But you are captivated by Christ and you begin to trust in him implicitly and stuff. But it directly parallels like the life that we're trying to lead by sharing the gospel and hoping that people come to know Jesus. People don't just come flocking into the church, and
it takes time. Just as fishing takes time. Like, I'm thinking back to our fishing trip with some of the men's ministry group.
Yeah.
Back in September, we tried to get them on the lures there, and sometimes you could reel them in, and sometimes they got away.
Yeah, they got so close to the boat, and I think of Ray, who his I can't remember how many feet they said it was out there. If you remember, let me know.
I don't remember,
but it was a long way behind the boat, right? And in the storm, Ray's straddling, and we're in our little hut. Watching him like, well, wow, Ray's really struggling.
And he's probably the most experienced fisher outside of Tim, probably in our boat.
And he's cranking on that line, cranking. You kind of see the fish, breaking water, and all of a sudden, close to the boat, he lost the fish. And it's like, oh, man.
And there was nothing Ray could have done. It wasn't his fault. And that can be the same when we're trying to make disciples of somebody. When we have our one, that person who doesn't know about Jesus, there could be some outside force that disconnects them from that lifeline to the boat to come to know Jesus.
Right.
And it's nothing we did, yet we probably think, well, I did something. I don't know what Ray thought, like, oh, man, I messed up. There's something, because I know that's probably would have been in my mind if I lost one of the ones I was reeling in. I would have been like, what did I do wrong? This is my fault. But it's the circumstance, like you said, that storms. I mean, we had 3 to 6 foot
that was something.
That was a little scary at times.
Well, like you were bringing up in our conversation previously, where you were on one side of the boat and I was on the other, and you were like, to me, you were like 12 feet up above me, and I'm sitting on my side, and my vantage point to you was like I was below the water level.
And I'm looking down, seeing the water on the other side of the boat. I was like, I don't think I should be seeing that water out on the other side of the window like that.
Holy cow, that was precarious.
Yeah, I was like, am I going to have to swim back to the shore? I'm like, I don't think I could swim in this.
Yeah. Well, what you described about like us thinking that we're getting someone so close to believing in Jesus.
And obviously we know it's the Holy Spirit.
Absolutely.
But we're
it's
the
not
means
up to us.
that God's working through us.
And they break away for whatever reason. It's like the economy of the kingdom of God is at opposite with our world. So we're out fishing, the Ray example. We're catching a live fish and we're bringing in that fish, and that fish will die. And once it gets on the boat, it dies, right? Mm-hmm. Well, Jesus fishing of men is mankind is floundering out in the sea of sin and darkness, as you read about the darkness that's in the land of Naphtali and all of that, Zebulun. And when they get into the boat of Jesus, they have life. So that's like the complete opposite of the mindset of fishing. Well, and that's why it makes it so important.
Well, see, I was thinking of a little different way, that you have to die to self. That, I
like that better.
So you got to die to yourself, and you have that new life in Christ.
New life in Christ.
But so like you're getting reeled in, so to speak, and you got to die to self, which nobody wants. Nope. Our human nature, we want enjoy life, do things the way we want to do things. Mm-hmm. We want to not have somebody else say, this is how you should live your life, or this is what you need to do in life. No, I know what I'm going to do. But when we come to faith, that old life dies, that we're like, okay, I want to do my best to live according to God's will. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of when I thought initially where you were going with that death.
No, I like that thought too.
So yeah, and that's the thing. Like, even though I think both illustrations work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm thinking, like, is there something to the phrase mending their nets? Like, in terms of like a theological thing that we could pull from, this shows that there's been activity for them to have to mend their nets. And so that's got to be kind of an activity that's done on the shore when you've gotten done with a fishing, your expedition. And it probably takes quite a bit of time to mend your nets, right? And it's probably something that's a regular routine activity if you're catching fish. Like, because they're struggling. Yeah.
And is that maybe there's that wear and tear on us when we're trying to witness to somebody, trying to disciple somebody. Mm-hmm. It doesn't go as we plan. And so that wear and tear, where maybe you get that breaking point where it's like, I'm done. That apathy, as we're talking about the journey of following Jesus.
Yeah.
And then if we come to go to church and be active in our faith, that mends us so that we are ready to keep out there, witnessing to others. I don't know. That was just kind of
like that because, when you're mending the nets, you're probably sitting and doing some very focused work to mend and strengthen that net. So in your analogy, like, okay, we kind of get worn out, frustrated, apathetic, and we need mending in our hearts because, of our sinfulness and our frailties, that we sit and focus at what God is giving us, so I could see that, I like that analogy.
The Holy Spirit working sometimes.
Hey, man. Yes.
Yeah, this is giving me good stuff to kind of preach upon this week.
This is why we're doing this. Right. I know how that works.
I'm just kind of working through the text here, and that's the good thing. That's the thing is that's what's great about being able to do this. It kind of gets us thinking differently, seeing what somebody else says. I mean, I know we all both have our helps that we go to kind of for sermon prep, which kind of helps, the old brain start firing in all cylinders and being like, ooh, that's a good point, or I've never thought about it that way.
Right.
And so that's what this is doing. So this is always a good habit to do it from time to time.
I just had another thought as you were just kind of ruminating on what we said and what you just said, like looking at all three of the sections in this reading. So, Jesus is out in the land of the Gentiles, where it says, the people dwelling in darkness have seen a great light. A lot of times the sea and the ocean is a dark place where there is sinfulness and evil, right? And, we talked about waves, and that's the effect of like evil and stuff. And so the fish are being brought out of that into a boat, which is kind of like a safe haven, right? So Jesus is going to the depths of the sea of sin and evil and darkness and pulling them into the light. And so that action requires mending, like we had said. You got to mend the nets, and so that there's healing or re-strengthening. And if you go to the next section where Jesus is among the crowds, what is he doing? He's mending their nets. He's healing the sick of afflicted and various diseases. And some of those oppressed by demons, there's that darkness, the darkness of our sin, the darkness of Satan and that spiritual realm.
Even that teaching. I was saying about that because how do you hear about the light that outshines the darkness? Through teaching. Mm-hmm. So then you can find your way out of that darkness.
That's right. Yeah. And proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom, that's the light of the gospel, you know. That's getting people out of the darkness into the light. Wow, this is just like popping, man.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to play this on Saturday and Sunday, this podcast, and call it a day for the message.
Call it a day.
Be like, guys, just listen to the podcast. You'll get all my thoughts.
Yeah, because the writer, he talks about those afflicted and those oppressed. I mean, that's our darkness. That's our spiritual darkness. Right. That's our disease, is our sinfulness.
And even like, as you were talking about that just now, saying kind of my original kind of thought of when I was saying about this idea of follow me. Where is Jesus asking us to follow him? What parts of our life, in our disease, in those afflictions, follow him. He will bring that light to you.
I agree. That's the call, right? But some of us would be like, yeah, I want to follow you, like immediately. And maybe all of us who are struggling in those things, those afflictions, those oppressions, would naturally say, yeah, get me out of here. But don't you find that we as human beings, we're afraid to go try something new that pulls us out of the grips of our darkness, and we become comfortable with our darkness?
Right. You're like, this
familiar.
Is what I know.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm going to stick to.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe this is a wrong way to think about, but when Jesus says follow me, Jesus doesn't always take the direct path.
Right.
He sometimes goes out of his way because he knew there was important ministry to happen, like the woman at the well. That wouldn't have been the normal route. He could have gone a quicker way.
Yep.
And maybe that's what scares people to follow me. Like, it isn't that always direct path. Maybe there is a little bit of wine, especially like in a sickness or a disease. Well, I'm supposed to follow you, but I just want to get through this.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe the way he's taking us, there's something growth that maybe we can spread his name and be fishers of men and sharing that gospel message and help witness to somebody else going through that.
Yeah, his way might be, well, you have to be afflicted a little longer.
Right.
Or, go through deeper oppression so that your reliance upon me becomes greater and you can give that witness.
Yeah, I don't know if that was just kind of thinking there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because nobody wants to hear a message that says you have to keep going through the tough situation that you're going through. Really? Even with Jesus, he's not going to lift me out of that? And I think we've talked before about the Apostle Paul begging 3 times to God to remove the thorn in the flesh.
Right.
And Jesus' answer to him wasn't like, hang in there, I'll pull it out of there. No, he just said, my grace, I'm all you need. Focus on me while you got this affliction. And he does some amazing stuff. That's a hard one to put your mind around.
Right.
Especially when you're suffering, right?
And it's like, well, if God's so loving, why do I have to suffer?
Yep.
Well, there's a purpose for it. We might not understand it, but there's a heavenly purpose.
Yeah. And I always kind of think it's probably a greater reliance upon him. Right. When you're really down and you got nothing left, all you can do is reach up. Then he's there. He's the only one there who's like, I'm everyone else is left. I'm here.
I think of Peter walking on the water.
Mm-hmm.
Loses his focus, sinks. Who's the one to reach him out of that darkness of that water? Jesus.
Yeah.
And he does the same for us.
That's why it's good to follow him.
Yeah, so I think this might be.
I think it's good. So you're all ready to go, huh?
Yeah. So,
just hit the play button and we'll just all listen.
So come this weekend, I'll probably dive a little, maybe unpack this a little bit more, go a little deeper in some of this stuff. And so thank you.
Can't wait.
Yeah, thank you all for listening. God's blessings.